For 5 seasons, Charlie's Angels put 3 women on screen every week who always won, always smiled, and never showed a crack. But the lives those women were living off camera, the cancers, the losses, the secrets kept for decades, were a completely different show. 2026 marks 50 years. Here's what the reruns never showed you. 4 cancer diagnoses, 2 deaths that the world almost missed, 1 woman's son in handcuffs at her bedside, and the smile that launched 1,000 posters hiding a story that ended alone. That poster, you know the one, red swimsuit, that smile, that hair. 12 million copies sold in the first year alone. If you grew up in America in the 1970s, Farrah Fawcett wasn't just on your wall. She was the wall. She was 29 when Charlie's Angels premiered in 1976. She left after 1 season, not because the show failed, but because it was #1. She wanted more. Aaron Spelling sued her for $7 million. The real career she fought for came in 1984, The Burning Bed. Critics called it one of the finest performances in TV movie history. She was nominated for an Emmy. She did not win. She was nominated 3 more times over the next 25 years. She did not win any of those either. In 2006, she was diagnosed with anal cancer. She was declared cancer-free on her 60th birthday. 3 months later, the cancer came back. It had spread to her liver. She filmed every doctor's visit, every procedure, every moment of hair loss, and turned it into a documentary watched by 9 million people. Her son Redmond was in a psychiatric facility at the time, found mentally unfit to stand trial for attempted murder. He was shackled and escorted by law enforcement to visit her in April 2009. That was the last time they saw each other. She died on June 25th, 2009. The same morning, Michael Jackson died. Every network that had planned a tribute to Farrah pivoted within hours. She spent 3 years making sure the world would see her story. The world looked away. On her first day on set, she wore a t-shirt that read, Farrah Fawcett Minor. That was Cheryl Ladd's answer to the impossible job she had just accepted. She grew up in Huron, South Dakota, daughter of a railroad engineer and a waitress. After high school, she toured the Midwest with a band before landing in Los Angeles in 1970. Her plan was music. Acting found her instead. Aaron Spelling called in 1977. Ladd said no 3 times. He convinced her by reframing the role, not Farrah's replacement, but her younger sister. She agreed, then showed up in that shirt. She stayed 4 seasons, outlasted Kate Jackson. Was there when the show ended in 1981. What almost no one knew, her marriage to David Ladd didn't survive the schedule. 14-hour shoot days. Their daughter Jordan was 5. She married music producer Brian Russell in January 1981 and hasn't left his side in 45 years, the longest marriage in this entire cast. At PaleyFest in April 2026, she said it publicly for the first time. Aggressive breast cancer, chemotherapy, full hair loss. She had told almost no one. When she called Jaclyn Smith, Smith immediately mailed her a box of wigs. She walked onto that first day wearing a joke about being second. She spent the next 5 decades proving she never was. She named the show. She was the first Angel cast. She picked her own character. Kate Jackson built Charlie's Angels from the inside, and Aaron Spelling fired her from it. She spent 4 years on The Rookies before Spelling offered her a new series every network had passed on. She pointed to a painting on his office wall and said, "Call it Charlie's Angels." She stayed 3 seasons. Then Spelling blocked her from taking the role that went to Meryl Streep in Kramer vs. Kramer. The shooting schedule couldn't be rearranged. Streep won the Oscar. Jackson left the show. In January 1987, while filming Scarecrow and Mrs. King, she had a feeling something was wrong. She scheduled her first mammogram. They found a malignant tumor. She had surgery under a false name and returned to set the same week. 2 years later, Another mammogram found residual cancer the first surgery had missed. Partial mastectomy. Reconstructive surgery. In 1995, doctors discovered she had been born with a heart defect undetected for 46 years. Open heart surgery. She adopted her son Charles that same year. Jaclyn Smith became his godmother. Her last acting role was in 2007. She hasn't appeared on screen since. At Paley Fest in April 2026, she said she was ready to go back. The woman who named this show spent the last 18 years watching it outlive her career. She named it well. The doctor walked in and asked, "Did you drive here alone?" She had. She hadn't thought to bring anyone. That was the moment Jaclyn Smith found out she had breast cancer. She was the only original Angel to stay for all 5 seasons, all 115 episodes. She was also the only one who had to audition. Every other Angel was handpicked. Smith competed against hundreds of actresses for the role of Kelly Garrett. She won, then she never left. After the show ended, she did something no celebrity had done before. In 1985, she launched her own clothing line at Kmart, not an endorsement, but a brand she designed herself. Over 36 years, more than 100 million women bought something with her name on it. People now credit her as the blueprint for every celebrity fashion empire that followed. Her personal life was quieter. Her second husband's son, Joe Cole, was shot and killed during a robbery in December 1991. He was 30. The case has never been solved. She has never spoken about it extensively in public. In 2002, she went to her annual mammogram, came back alone for the results, and heard the word cancer. Stage 1. Lumpectomy. Radiation. She recovered. When Farrah Fawcett was dying in 2009, Smith wanted to be at the funeral. She couldn't go. Her own mother was dying at the same time. She said later she believed Farrah understood, because Farrah had loved her mother the same way. She is 80 years old, still working, still there. If you watched Rugrats as a kid in the 1990s, you already know his voice. You just never knew it was him. That was David Doyle, Bosley on Charlie's Angels, Grandpa Lou Pickles on Nickelodeon, and somehow a stranger to both audiences at once. He grew up in Lincoln, Nebraska. 4 generations of his family had been lawyers. He ranked 6th in the state on his law school entrance exam. Then he chose acting instead. His first break came in 1956 when he replaced Walter Matthau in a Broadway production. His college classmate at the University of Nebraska was Johnny Carson, who later had him on The Tonight Show more times than most people remember. Doyle is the only other actor besides Jaclyn Smith to appear in all 115 episodes of Charlie's Angels. He was there through every cast change. 6 women came and went. Bosley stayed. His first wife, Rachel, died in 1968 from injuries after a fall down a staircase. He was alone with their 7-year-old daughter, Leah. The following year, while performing in a revival of South Pacific, he met a singer named Ann Nathan. They married shortly after. He died of a heart attack on February 26, 1997, at 67. The Rugrats episode that aired after his death was dedicated to him. He never saw the 2000 Charlie's Angels film. He never saw Bill Murray play his role. 2 generations loved him. Neither knew he was the same person. He recorded his lines for an entire episode in a matter of minutes. Then he had lunch. Then he went to the racetrack. That was John Forsythe's workday, the highest paid actor on television, per hour, for 5 straight years. He was never seen on screen. Not once. No face, no credits, only a voice through a speakerphone. Somehow that voice became one of the most recognized in America. Bachelor Father in the 50s, Charlie's Angels in the 70s, Dynasty in the 80s. He was born Jacob Lincoln Freund in 1918 in New Jersey. One of the founding members of the Actors Studio, he trained alongside Marlon Brando. Alfred Hitchcock told him he was better suited to television than film. He took the advice. In 1994, after 51 years of marriage, His wife, Julie, fell into a coma. He made the decision to disconnect her life support. She died that August. 8 years later, at 84, he married a Beverly Hills businesswoman named Nicole Carter. She had cancer. He had cancer. They fought it together, their obituary later said, in the most cheerful and upbeat way. John Forsyth died on April 1st, 2010, 92 years old. Nicole died 40 days later. They are buried together in Ballard, California. He spent 5 seasons as a man no one could see. He was survived by the woman who saw him most clearly, for exactly 40 more days. On December 23rd, 2020, she went for a walk with her dogs near her Hollywood Hills home. When she got back, she collapsed. That was the last time Tanya Roberts was on her feet. She grew up in the Bronx, dropped out of high school at 15, hitchhiked across the country, came back to New York, and studied acting under Lee Strasberg and Uta Hagen. She supported herself teaching Latin dance at Arthur Murray Studios. In 1980, she was chosen from more than 2,000 candidates to become the final angel. One season, the show was canceled, but the role opened doors, a Bond film, a cult fantasy franchise, then That 70s Show, where a new generation found her. She left That 70s Show in 2001. Her husband Barry had been diagnosed with encephalitis, inflammation of the brain. She went home. He died in 2006, after 4.5 years. She never returned to a significant role. They had met standing in a movie line in New York. She proposed to him in a subway station. 32 years of marriage. On January 3rd, 2021, her partner Lance O'Brien visited her in the hospital. He watched her eyes flutter and close. He walked out believing she had died. He called her publicist. The publicist called the press. Tributes flooded in. The next morning, the hospital called Lance. She was still alive. She died the following evening. A urinary tract infection that had spread to her kidneys, her gallbladder, her liver, and her bloodstream. She gave up everything for the man she proposed to in a subway station. They called it a tragedy. She would have called it a choice. Fired after 1 season. Replaced without explanation. That is the story most people know about Shelley Hack. Here is what they missed. She graduated from Smith College, earned an MBA, and beat out Michelle Pfeiffer for the role of Tiffany Wells. Her debut episode was the #1 show in America that week. When the network let her go, she said she had never planned to stay longer than a year. In the 1990s, she left acting entirely. In 1997, she flew to Bosnia-Herzegovina and became a voting registration supervisor during the country's first post-war elections. She produced the first televised presidential debates in Sarajevo, then spent 10 years building independent media across Eastern Europe. She married film director Harry Weiner in 1990, 36 years together. She is the only angel whose marriage never ended in divorce. She and Harry now run Smash Media, producing films out of Los Angeles. She did not attend the 50th anniversary reunion in April 2026. Of all the women who passed through this show, she is the only one who walked away on her own terms and built something on the other side that had nothing to do with Charlie. But 2 people connected to this cast didn't get that kind of quiet exit. Their story stayed loud and painful all the way to the end. He is buried next to Farrah Fawcett at Westwood Village Memorial Park. People who knew her say she never wanted that. She had told friends she wanted to be cremated, her ashes sent back to Texas. Ryan O'Neal made a different arrangement. He was 29 when Love Story came out in 1970. Oscar nomination, Hollywood's new leading man. What came after was harder to manage. A career that peaked early, a family that fractured along the way, and a relationship with Farrah Fawcett that lasted on and off for 30 years. He cheated on her in 1997. She walked in on it. They split. In 2001, he was diagnosed with chronic leukemia. She called him the same day. She said, "You cannot die. We will fight this together." They did. Then she got sick. He stayed. He had 4 children with 3 different women. His daughter Tatum accused him of physical abuse. His son Griffin said there were drugs everywhere in the house, every day. In 2007, Ryan aimed a firearm at Griffin during an argument at their Malibu home. Neither was charged. When Ryan died on December 8, 2023, his son Patrick organized the memorial. It was held on Christmas Eve. About 25 people attended. 3 of Ryan's 4 children, Tatum, Griffin, and Redmond, were not invited. Griffin drove 2,000 miles from Houston to find out the service had already happened. Patrick buried his father next to Farah. Griffin told the press, "Love means never having to say, 'You're sorry.'" And Ryan never did. To anyone. In April 2009, a young man was escorted through a hospital corridor in handcuffs, under law enforcement supervision, to visit his dying mother. That was Redmond O'Neill, the only child of Farrah Fawcett and Ryan O'Neill, and the person who paid the highest price for both of their lives. He was born in January 1985. His parents never married. He has said that fighting with his father, being thrown out, living on the streets, jail, psychiatric wards, that was the sequence of his life. By 2008, he had been arrested for heroin possession. By 2009, he was in a psychiatric facility, found mentally unfit to stand trial, while his mother was dying across the city. She had left him $4.5 million in a trust. The principal could only be used for health care. She knew. In May 2018, at 33, he stabbed 5 strangers in unprovoked attacks across Venice Beach. Charged with attempted murder. Found incompetent to stand trial. Diagnosed with schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, and antisocial personality disorder. Committed to Patton State Hospital under court order. Before Ryan O'Neill died in December 2023, he tried to visit Redmond to apologize. He had promised Farrah he would take care of their son. Redmond refused to see him. As of 2026, Redmond remains at Patton State Hospital. He has moments where he understands where he is and cries uncontrollably. Farrah Fawcett wanted, more than almost anything, to be a mother. She got her wish. What she couldn't protect him from was everything that came before he was born. Charlie's Angels ran for 5 seasons on the promise that 3 beautiful women could handle anything. They could. What the show never accounted for was everything waiting for them on the other side of the finale. Every person in this cast, the ones who stayed, the ones who left, the ones the credits never mentioned, carried something the camera never caught. Fame has always been better at recording the smile than the cost of keeping it. The most beautiful thing about a performance is that it ends. The most painful thing about a life is that it doesn't. Which angel's story surprised you the most? And why? Leave it below. Thank you for watching Golden Star Moments. If you enjoy meaningful moments, inspiring stories, and unforgettable highlights, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss our latest videos. Every subscription motivates us to continue creating and sharing even more quality content with you. We look forward to seeing you in our next amazing journey. Golden Star Moments, where every shining moment becomes a lasting memory.